Do you remember what it was like to get your grades and how afraid you were to tell your parents at times? Sometimes our kids even try to hide them from us. I'm Veenu Keller. It's time to redefine parenting and give your kids a childhood they won't have to heal from. Welcome back. I'm Veenu Keller. It's time to redefine parenting and give your kids a childhood they won't have to heal from. Today we're going to be talking about blame and shame and how when we blame and shame our kids, it becomes something more than just punishing your child feels bad, they do better, and then they produce better. Actually, when we blame and shame our children, what we are doing is we're taking away their self-worth. I have a client I was working with, and his parents said to him he had to get all A's. If he didn't get all A's, he was going to lose his cell phone for over a month until he can get his grades up. He was in 8th grade. He was 13 years old. And if you can imagine how important those cell phones are to 13-year-olds, they're pretty important. So here I am talking to my client, and I'm asking my client some questions. And I said, what does it mean to you to get an A? And he says, well, it's great. I said, is it great for you or is it great for your parents? He says, well, I mean, it feels good, when you get that test back and there's an A. But it also feels great to know that I am doing what my parents want me to do. I said, have you ever asked your parents what it means to them for you to get an A? And he's like, yeah, then I'm perfect. I said, interesting. So in your mind, the only way to be perfect for your parents is to get straight A's. And he says, yeah. And I said, and what happens if you don't? I'll lose my phone. Has it happened in the past? He says, yeah. And I said, what happens? He says, well, I do whatever I can to get my grades up, but sometimes it doesn't work. And I said, so let me just ask you this. When you have a B in a class, what does that feel like to you? And he says, can I be honest with you, Miss B? And I said, yes, of course. He says, I have a B in math right now, and I only have 2 weeks and the grading period's up. And I said, well, what does it mean to you to have that B? And he says, well, honestly, he's like, it feels really good. He says, because this class is the hardest math class I've ever had. I raise my hand, the teacher doesn't call on me. I will ask my partner next to me about it. And then the teacher's like, shh, be quiet, no talking. I don't know what to do. I come home and I'll ask my mom or my dad for help. And they're busy and they say they'll help me later after dinner. And then it's after dinner and they have to go somewhere or there's a meeting or something, so I don't get help. So I kind of just Google it, guess at it, and turn my work in. And he's like, that's the best I can do. He's like, because I really don't understand this. I said, well, what would happen if you talked to your parents about it? And he said, well, they don't listen. They just don't hear me. They don't listen to me. And so I just stopped going to them. I said, okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that your B actually feels really good to you because it's a tough class. You don't feel you get support from your teachers. You don't feel there's a lot of support at home. And so for you, you're pretty excited that you have that B. And he lit up with me. He was like, yes, it feels so good. I said, great. So what if that just happened to be your grade? And his light up all of a sudden went dim. And I said, oh, not so happy about that. He's like, no. He's like, because they won't understand. And they're going to take my phone. This is the shame kids feel when we put these expectations on them. When we blame them that they didn't do good enough, that they should do better, that I'm going to take your phone until you do better. It's putting in their mind that they've done something wrong. What if we were able to get a little curious and ask more questions? What if you, as the parent, actually knew that your son had been struggling all year, and the fact that he's getting a B is actually something to celebrate, not something to shame him over? What if we realize that we are teaching our children to do more to stay away from pain than go towards the pleasure? What if we were able as parents to really just celebrate the fact that our kids are doing the best that they can? If we were able to get curious in the situation, we would be able to find out that this individual who's only 13 years old, who's under a lot of pressure with social, right? Like the kids and what each kid's doing. He's under the pressure of what the parents expect. And now he's putting that pressure on himself. And then we wonder why our kids have so much anxiety, why our kids feel so depressed, why our kids aren't telling us things, why are they hiding their grades, why are they making excuses about not bringing home their report card, why are they afraid, why are they afraid to have this conversation with parents? Because of the blame and the shame. They don't want to get blamed for something that they've been trying so hard to do, like this one client that I had. When we stop blaming and shaming, we are able to start building up that self-worth, that self-confidence in our kids. And it's very small incrementals that we do that. And it just stacks and it stacks until these kids really, really start to feel their self-worth. They really feel confident that they're able to come to their parents and say, you know, here's my report card. I already know they're not straight A's, but I want to tell you how excited I am about this B in math. I want to share with you the story behind this B and what it took me to get this B. Then we too can celebrate with them. We then can actually realize that they're telling us more about their world than we've ever heard before. They're allowing us to get into their world and understand them. They stop hiding things from us. They stop sheltering their grades from us because they're so afraid they're going to get in trouble. And they start really learning how to be proud of themselves. When we stop blaming and shaming when something goes wrong at the house and says, who did it? Why did you do it? As soon as you say why, you're putting that child into that sense of, I have to defend myself now. Why? Why? Why should I do this? Why did I do this? And then all of a sudden, it goes back to, I have to protect, I have to lie, because I want my parents to be proud of me. I want to be enough to my parents. Take away the blame and shame, and you will open so many more doors with your children for them to have that open and safe and trusting space to share with you. Thank you.